Whoa. There we go. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Let me get the camera set up. All right. Gonna be planting some seeds. I gotta take my jacket off. It's way too hot. All right. So we're gonna be doing some soil blocks, some plug trays, planting things that gonna be necessary for my summer crops. Some stuff just kind of random, some experimental stuff. I made these soil blocks a few days ago, and I just didn't have the time to plant them, so I'm not gonna plant my really important stuff here. So I'm gonna start out with maybe some flowers and herbs. And just to kind of give you a little preview of what I'll be talking about today, this is a soil blocker, and this is how I do all of my transplants right now. And this is the healthiest way to start your starts. And that's because it allows for air pruning of the roots never spiralize, and I can also make a custom soil mix for my blocks. So what you're looking at right now, these are the soil blocks. I made it from my own compost, peat moss, and some perlite. I also blend in biochar, kelp meal, azomite, and for these I even had some worm tea available, so I even inoculated it with worm tea as well. So, the first thing I'm going to plant here, hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Oh, 안녕하세요. Very cool. The 16Q blocker is awesome, I know. My buddy Jared, if you ever saw my farm tour with Jared Smith of Jared's Real Food, that's the one he uses, because he's at a 2-acre scale. I grow on 1/8 of an acre, that's 5,000 square feet. So I'm planting right now, this is called Malabar Spinach. Hard to show you guys. But Malabar Spinach, it is a perennial, and it vines. And this is kind of a new little green that I'm trying out. And I wanted to try it out because I want to try to take advantage of some of the vertical space in my yard. I did plant some kind of in the fall, and it didn't really grow very well because you're supposed to really plant it in spring, but I was experimenting. So I'm going to get all the rest of my seeds going so that I can do more. I'm going to plant these seeds, and then I'm going to show you guys how to actually make soil blocks. I'll show you the formula that I use, the different amendments that I add, and all of that. But I got to plant these first. So let's see here. What other stuff that I've got? These are all tomatoes from last year. I want to do a bunch of basil. Those are the next herbs that are coming in. And all my customers keep asking me about basil, so I need to start planting that. So, let's see here, let's keep these separate. So I'm just going to do basil and the rest of this. The two varieties that I like of basil, this is called Genovese. It's an Italian heirloom basil. This one's awesome. It's my favorite. It has like the most pungent flavor and smell. My buddy Jared gave me these. And then this is, what is this? Sweet basil. This is just your standard one that you're going to get in the store. The really soft, kind of oval, rounded leaves. That's the one that everybody knows. Sweet. Yeah, soil blocking is awesome. And I'm going to be trying out, I don't know if you guys know, Connor Crickmore of Never Sink Farms. He now owns the patent for the wind strip trays. And the wind strip trays are plastic trays like this, but they're like they're basically plug trays like this, but they have air holes or like little strips cut out of them so that the plants root prune themselves. And I'm going to be trying those out this year to see how much better they are, because it just takes so much less time. You just have your soil mix ready to go, you put it in dry, and then seed. So I'm excited to try that out and see if they work as good as soil blocks, because if that's the case, I'm going to switch because it's such a time saver. I do most of my crops are direct seeded, actually, like maybe 80%, 20% is transplants, and trying to do as many direct seeds as possible because that takes the least amount of time. But of course, coming up on summer here, we need to get the jump. And if you guys notice, I'm in my greenhouse, and I've been building it over the last couple weeks. And I just finished editing the video. It's going to come out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. And it's a full build video all about the Bootstrap Farmer greenhouse. And I'm pretty excited. It came out really good. So I'm trying to drop like 1 or 2 seeds, and that's it. And one of the advantages to growing in this greenhouse that I really like is that the germination is much better because I'm getting more consistent temperatures, the humidity's high. I can just really keep ideal temperatures in here. So I don't really need to put a lot more seed to guarantee that I'm going to have successful seedlings. So this is going to save me time thinning. Because usually, if you're putting like 5 seeds in, a few of them are going to make it, and you need to thin them down to 1 plant once they get bigger so that the plant can fully express itself and get as big as possible. And if you guys are asking questions, I'll check on it, every 10 minutes or so. I'll try to respond to you guys. I seed everything by hand. This is how I learned to do it. I'm pretty fast at it. I don't use a machine. On a larger scale, they use what's called a drop seeder or a vacuum seeder. That's just something you could put over the top and it drops all the seed in one go. But that's more for larger scale. It's not something that I necessarily need. Okay, that was all the Genovese. I need to write this down. Keeping it real simple with masking tape and some Sharpie. So this is Malabar on the front. And then the back half was Genovese. And what's today, the 3rd? Something like that. Okay. So in each of these 10 by 20 trays, I can fit 50 soil blocks. And these are the 10 by 20 trays from Bootstrap Farmer. I don't recommend buying them from anybody else. These are so strong. Check this out. I can just like hold it out here. I'll add a link to their stuff so that you guys can buy it too. But look at all that weight. If you're using a piece of crap tray, it would just break. So they're very strong. I've used these for a couple seasons, and they're going to last a very long time. So I'm super happy with these. They're my favorite. I think I need my hat in here. It's hot. It's like Thailand in here. So give me a second. I need to take another shirt off too. Okay. So that's Genovese. Now we're going to switch. We're going to just do the Italian, the normal sweet basil stuff that everybody knows. I need to grab a hat. Malabar. Oh, it's hard to pick. Okay, cool. Yeah, basil's super easy. I love growing basil. I do all my basil interplanted with my cucumbers and tomatoes. I don't do an individual row because it would take up extra bed space for me. Cool. All right. So I'm gonna do 50 of the sweet basil. And then I'll probably do some more trays with my herbs. I'll do like one more round of herbs. And then it's gonna start getting a little bit too hot by the time those are adults. I've noticed once it goes like to 85, 90 degrees Fahrenheit and above, the herbs just don't take it very well. But I do have a lot of microclimates because I've got the use of my neighbor's yard now, I've got the use of my other property now, and there's some different really shady spots. So I'll be putting herbs there so that I can try to keep my cilantro and parsley and dill going. And those are so cilantro, dill, parsley, and basil. Those are the 4 herbs that I grow. I found that they're the most popular with my customers. People know what to do with those. Some of the other stuff, you got to do the stuff that's popular, that people know. If you're going to sell to chefs, then you can start doing more weird stuff that they want. But it all depends on your market and where you live and what you're trying to do. But the 4 herbs that I do, you can sell for a good amount of profit. They're really easy to harvest. Okay, let's do parsley next. I just do the flat leaf parsley. I'm a fan of the curly stuff. This tastes so much better. Okay. And like I said, I don't do that many transplants, so taking the time to do this is not a big deal. You've got a half acre or more, then you want to start looking into some other options to make this process a bit quicker for yourself. But we're talking pretty minimal amount of hours per year that I'm actually making and seeding soil blocks. And this year I'm going to be grafting tomatoes. And if you don't know what that means, it means that just like on trees, you can see a grafting video I made about grafting like apple and stone fruit trees. But the idea is that you want to have a really vigorous, strong, disease-resistant rootstock so that the plant will be much healthier, and it even produces like 20 to 30% more tomatoes. So this is what they do in the big commercial greenhouses, and all the professionals graft now. And the reason that they graft is because these varieties of tomatoes that they've hybridized or developed over time, or even the heirlooms, they've expressed themselves to the fullest to develop really good fruit. But when you develop for just fruit, the roots and the vigor kind of go out of the plant. So it's a way of combining really vigorous root structure and health with the really good tasting fruit. And this year, so I'm trying out, it's called Estamino. Estamino is the rootstock I decided on. There's like Maxi Fort or something like that. That's another one people like. So I'll be doing I'm not going to plant all my special tomato seeds probably right now. I'll do that tomorrow when I can really focus, because the Estamino rootstock seeds, or all the rootstock seeds, they're like 50 cents each. So they're pretty expensive, so you got to make sure you're doing it right. Also this year I'm going to be doing I really like the Diva burpless cucumbers. I'm a big fan of those guys. high production, and I really like thin-skinned, crunchy, juicy, more sweeter cucumbers. And my customers really liked them last year, and I can sell them for $1 each, no problem at all. So I was really happy with that variety. For my summer squash, I try to do a little bit different stuff because everybody has the yellow crookneck, everybody does black beauty zucchinis. So what I do is I have what do I do? Cocozelli Italian striped squash, because the plant's a little bit smaller than like the Romanesco Italian. Even though I really like the Romanesco, that's probably my favorite squash of all time. It's an heirloom one, and yeah, these are good. I also do like one of the only hybrids I really do is the Sunburst Patty Pan squash, and that squash is like the really cool kind of flying saucer looking one. It's really special. Not as many people have it at the market, so that's why I like to grow it, and it's also delicious. All right, so that's all my herbs. I'm gonna get all these guys out of the sun. Don't want to keep your seeds in the sun. I want to keep them cool. I store all my seeds in the fridge. Let's see here. Oh, also this year, I just if you watch my Instagram, I did a story recently where I went over to the San Diego Seed Company, and my friend Bridget is the farmer over there, and she does all local seeds. So these are all have been what's the word? Like adapted for the local climate here. So I'm going to be doing some California Wonders. This is like an heirloom bundle of different colors of peppers. This is a Hungarian hot wax pepper. This is my favorite hot pepper. I like them better than jalapenos, and habaneros are like too hot for me, so I don't like to do those. These are a little bit bigger too, so you can get at least 50 cents each for these. So I'm gonna try these out this year for fun. And I also got this cool. It's called a Kajari Melon, and it's an heirloom from India. And Bridget told me it's really pungent, really sweet. So this is one of the things I'm just gonna play around with and toss it into my neighbor's yard. So let me label these guys here. Let's see here. This is the sweet. I'm going to be planting a ton of seeds over the next few days because I'm going to be in Texas for 5 days at a conference that Bootstrap Farmer's putting on. So if you're interested in seeing a bunch of content, I'm going to be doing a ton of stuff while I'm there. So follow me on Instagram if you aren't already. I'll be, updating constantly through Instagram. What is this? Parsley. I'm also going to be interviewing 3 different farmers while I'm there. So look forward on my YouTube channel to 3 different farm tours. One of them is Dawson Melacco, and he's a 15-year-old market gardener. And he's doing really cool stuff, and I'm really proud of him. He's only 15, and he's been market gardening for 2 years. So really wanted to highlight somebody that, is that young and doing this. I'm also going to be visiting Profound Profound Foods, and that's Jeff, and he's an all hydro grower, and they do it all in greenhouses. So that'll be kind of a different thing, kind of show off a different way of growing that's not in soil. So I'm excited to tour that and learn a lot more from him. In my opinion, though, growing in the soil is the ultimate. That's going to provide the best nutrition and plant compounds for human health, just because of how soil biology work, and this is the way plants were designed to grow. But hydro definitely has its place. You know, it is part of the future food system, I think, especially in cities. So we shouldn't just toss it out the window just because it's not 100% natural. But I'm excited to learn more from him because I know there is biology in that water, and I'm interested in kind of talking to him about other ways we can incorporate biology into that water to make it even better. Okay, what's next? Oh, let's do dill. I didn't do any dill yet. This is taking me a bit longer just because I'm talking and stuff. And this is all dill that I saved from last year. The cilantro also I saved from last year or the year before. And it's really pretty fun. I love saving seed and trying to make it keep going. These were planted outside of my production bed, so that's how I was able to save the seed. Normally that's something I would never do. It's not, it's not worth our time if we're market gardeners. Our grow beds are for production and making money, not doing seeds. But if you're a home gardener, I think it's a really great way to acquire some new skills, learn some new things about plants. So at the end of your season, or whenever your plants bolt, you can just let them go to seed. And the bees and the different pollinators really love it. You're providing them more food. And then at the end of it, you get a bunch of seed. And, the last 2 years I've used this dill seed. I haven't had to buy any. So, it saved me a good, $10 or something. And I'm practicing more skills. Whenever you have the chance to practice more gardening skills, you should totally do it. Because this is a lifetime pursuit, and the more things that you can do to learn and experience, the better. And if you're interested in saving seed a really easy way that doesn't take any work, look up, they're called Organza Bags, and they're typically just used for like jewelry, like to store stuff in. But they're basically once your plants go to flower, and they've been pollinated and the flowers close up, that's the time where you should put the bags over the entire part of the flower. You can tie the bag around the stem and everything, and then the seed will develop inside of the bag. Once the plant basically dies, it'll drop that seed into the organza bag, and then you didn't have to do anything. You just come out and collect the seed. All right, let me write this down, then I'll see if anybody has any questions or comments. I'll try to interact with you guys a little. And I just planted bouquet dill. It's super delicious. The stems are pretty sweet. If you want to see a picture of what this dill looks like, I put some on my Instagram. I think the picture's from like 1 day ago. Okay, what are we gonna do next? Let's see what's going on the chat here. Yeah, I'm gonna try to do more live streams like all the time now. I really enjoy doing them, and it's kind of fun just to show you, what's happening in the moment, and so you can see kind of what farmers, a small farmer's doing. Have I always transplanted coriander? I've also tried direct seeding it. It's worked pretty well. I did it in my earthway. The only problem is, it's like it drops too much seed, and then you kind of gotta thin it a little bit. But I kind of like transplanting it better. Yeah, soil blocks are the best way to start seeds if you don't want any transplant shop. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I lived in Korea for 2 years, so that's why I know a little bit of Korean. That's awesome that you're getting rid of your lawn into a food forest. So cool. That's fantastic. You will not regret it. Cool. Hey, what's up? All right, so let's keep going. What do we want to do next? Oh, where is it? let's do some celery. I'm gonna try some celery again this year just for fun. And I'll try to plant it in more of my microclimate areas. It's kind of going to be more for me to practice, and it's not something I'm signed off for to sell at the market. I could always get it on my certificate though. So I'm going to do a half celery and half, this is called matcha. I got this for free when I ordered from Peaceful Valley, and it's just another type of green. It's also called corn salad or lamb's lettuce. It says it's favorite in France, and it tasted pretty good. I did a little bit last year just for fun. So we'll do half a tray of the matcha and half of the celery. That's half. And we'll do some celery. This is also seed that I saved, and it's kind of funny because where I'm standing right now used to be my first home garden when I first developed my land here, but now a greenhouse is here, obviously. But it's kind of cool to plant the celery seed where I grew it before. I saved this seed. And these things are crazy small. I'm gonna have to do thinning on this. I'm also gonna I just met with a homeowner, because I'm going to be developing kind of a garden for them. So I'm doing a bunch of extra weird stuff for them too that I could take over there. So a lot of this stuff you're seeing me do, I'll probably take over there as well. The things that I grow on my properties are super high intensity and the highest profit veggies, field veggies only. Okay, so let's label this one here, matcha. All right. Okay, I've got 5 more trays, and then I'm gonna make soil blocks, and I'm gonna teach you guys how to do that. And in the future, I will make an in-depth video all about soil blocks, so you don't have to seek through this video. I'll make a really detailed one, kind of like my normal videos. Oh, super chat! Wow, thank you so much, Esme. Thank you, appreciate that. It's so awesome. How do I look at them? Really appreciate you. Thank you. Okay. What's next? So, I wish I remembered what these were. Some farmer gave this. Oh, I know what this is. One of my farmer friends at the market that I met, he's from Iraq. In San Diego, there's actually a huge population of Iraqis, and this is Iraqi Chard. And you can tell it is a chard seed. It looks a little different, and I'm hoping that Iraq's really hot, right? So I'm hoping it'll grow really well in the summer here. So let's try this one out. I think this will be pretty cool. So let's just do half of this. And if you don't know, chard seed, there's multiple seeds inside of this one thing. It's called, gosh, I forgot the name. I had to look it up. It's called like a germ seed or something like that. There's a special name for these type of seeds. Like a kale seed, you know, one seed produces one plant. But like a chard seed has multiple. So I'll just do, let's see, we'll just do half a tray of these. I've already got a bunch of beds of chard going. And I expect those to last deep into the summer. And I use shade cloth as well. So that really helped me last year. That was my first year using shade cloth, and it really helped me to grow kale and chard and lettuce. I did my salad mix all summer long, all under shade cloth. So another cool thing about shade cloth, I use 50-50 out here in San Diego, and another way to keep things from bolting and staying, keep from, you know, if you've ever grown greens in the summer, it gets more bitter, right? And one way to prevent that is to spray water over the top of them, and that creates an evaporative cooling effect. So you know, every like 30 minutes to an hour, spray a minute of water, and then it'll keep them cooler and tasting better, and they won't bolt. And that's what like Eric Schultz of Steadfast Farm does in Arizona, or Ray Tyler out in Tennessee does. What else could we do? Just trying to find something else weird that I could do. Flowers, tomatoes. Oh, here we go. I'll do a little bit of oregano. I'll seed some more of that. I do have some plants already going, but that I could propagate. I don't have that many, so let's just do a little bit more. Wow. And this is crazy small seed. It's like the smallest ever. So I'm going to use the rest of this up. And then from here on out, I can just propagate my oregano because I've got a few plants out there. And I have a video about propagating herbs on my YouTube channel. If you've never done it before, it's really easy. A lot of propagation's really simple, actually. And I've learned a lot more since that video. And some really great natural rooting hormone. So when you propagate a plant, you're, you know, cutting it off, cutting a cutting off, and the plant will stimulate rooting hormone itself because it wants to try to root out and stay alive. You can help it along by giving it synthetic rooting hormone, or you can help it with some other natural ones. And some of the best ones are aloe. So if you have an aloe plant, you can just cut off a leaf and use some of the gooey juice and dip the end of the cutting into that, and then plant it into the soil. Honey is another good one. Honey's good if you're trying to protect from bacterial infection or a fungal problem, because it has those properties in it to fight that off, so it can help the plant heal. Another good one is called Willow Water. So you would collect the leaves and stems from a willow tree, put it in a bucket, and then you could water in the propagations, or you can actually you could root it out in water, in that willow water, and that's something that people do as well. Okay, so let's label these guys and keep going. Sorry it's taking me so long to do this, but it's hard to concentrate and talk and do this at the same time. So this is the Iraqi Chard. I'm excited to grow this. He told me it kind of looks like Ford Hook, so it's a white chard. And then I did oregano on the back. Kind of oregano. I do Greek oregano. Uh, 2, 3, 19. All right, let's see if you guys said anything. How often do I soil test? Once a year. And I'm doing soil tests mainly just to prove what I'm doing and to prove that I can increase my soil organic matter every year. I need to do an episode about my soil test, but all the nutrients came back really well. When chard grows, do you separate the little plants? Yeah, I mean, I think I know what you mean. Like, I thin it down to one plant only. So one stem is coming up. Okay, so we got 3 more trays left. I'm just gonna cover them really quick. Move them out of the way. So when I cover my soil blocks or my plug trays or whatever, what I've been doing that has worked really well for me and has prevented, if you guys have ever gotten mold or kind of like a green mossy layer on the top of your tray, top of your seedlings. What has helped me prevent that is using peat. I do half peat moss and half perlite, and that allows just for so much air that I don't think that the mold has a chance to really take hold. So let me just break this up, a little chunky. So I do is I just pour a little bit out on each tray. That, and then it's really easy. All you have to do is just rub it over the top of everything, and then I always put too much, so to make sure I just want to make sure I'm getting enough to cover the hole. Let's throw it back in. So I just keep rubbing it around till I can see that it's all covered. You can use the same technique for if you're just using 6 cells or anything like that. I recommend kind of doing a similar thing. And then once you've got it spread out evenly, there's not too much, because you don't want to add, if it already has the hole, it already has enough depth to sprout really well. Oh, I'm sorry. So if you put too much, and it's a seed like the oregano that's really small, and you put too much on top, it'll sprout and it won't get light soon enough to survive. So this is, a really important part of having successful seedlings sprout. And I know a lot of people have issues with getting their seedlings to start and sprout and all that. So I'm going to give you some really good tips. So that's one of them. Just very lightly cover the top. The next step that you must do is pat it down. You're just applying some pressure over the top. And what that's doing is just creating a really nice, essentially it's like, I like to think of it as a womb, just like in a mother's body, right? So it wants to be warm and snug, and you don't want like air, like an open air pocket in there. Okay, and that's it. Move to the next one. I'm slightly covering everything. Then I'll pull the excess off. And pat it down. And the sooner you can get your seeds covered, the better. You don't want to leave it uncovered for an hour and then come back later. Do it right away. Don't wait. Otherwise, the sun's beating down on your seed and could cause death of the seed or just lower germination rates that you don't want. If I see any large little chunks, sometimes in peat moss they have little wood chips and stuff. You want to get rid of that. Pat it down. As far as the perlite goes, right now I'm using the larger, it's like a little bit larger size, only because the farm supply store near me just didn't have either the fine grain or the medium grain. Yeah, this is called coarse grain. So it has some of these larger chunks, which I'm not the biggest fan of. It's better for like a potting mix in a pot. But it still works great for my soil blocks, and I haven't really had any issues or germination issues. So just so you know, you still can use the larger grain stuff, but I do prefer the smaller. You know, I could make a little piece of wood if I wanted to speed this up. A piece of wood, you just flatten it down in one shot. That's something I could definitely upgrade for how I do this. There's always a better way to do something. That's what I always say. There's always a better way. But, you know, sometimes as a farmer, you've always got 10,000 projects going on, so that's not always possible. You gotta just, every season, you just keep upgrading what you do, making it more efficient and better. Okay. Let's push this out of the way. Alright, 3 more, and then we'll move on, and I'll show you how to make soil blocks. Oh. So, what are we going to do next? How about some melons? Let's do melons. So once again, saving seeds. These are my Jubilee watermelons. It's a Jubilee is an heirloom, and you can grow them anywhere from like 10 to 30 pounds, something like that. I've got them up to 30. Do I worry about the perlite buildup in my soil over time? I really like vermiculite as well. Vermiculite is more expensive though, but I don't really use perlite, only in my soil blocks. So there's hardly any in my soil whatsoever. But if you were in like a raised bed or something, it doesn't concern me. I've done raised beds with and it works pretty good. But so vermiculite, if you guys want to know the difference between perlite and vermiculite, they're both these like volcanic rocks, basically, that they heat up, they expand like popcorn. And so perlite looks like this. I don't have the vermiculite on me right now. I need to go buy some more. The perlite lets a lot more air and water through it, so the drainage is way better. So I really like in my soil mixes to use perlite in the winter, so that if in San Diego we can grow all winter long. So in order to prevent like my soil blocks getting too moist, I want them to have more air and more all that. It's also more humid here in the winter, so I'm trying to prevent molding issues and stuff. I'll use the perlite, but then in summer I will switch to vermiculite, because vermiculite is way better at holding moisture. It's more like a sponge. It feels really weird too. So that's kind of what I do. That's how I do it. Now on these watermelon seeds, on big seed, the summer stuff, it's these need to be planted deeper, more like ½ inch into the soil. And my soil blocker only makes like a 1/4 inch seed. So when I seed my watermelon or squash or even cucumbers, I'm gonna take my finger and push the seed down another 1/4 inch. Sorry if you're in Europe or Canada. I don't know how many millimeters that is, but and then that will be way better for the plant. It still might work at a 1/4 inch, but it's going to be kind of leggy and not be as strong of a plant. So I'll do all my Jubilees here. That was all of them. I think I got more somewhere. What's this? here they are. These seeds look a lot healthier. They look way better. I could have labeled them a little better. I should have labeled them. This is the big one. This is from the best watermelon. Because when you're saving seed, it's you always want to select the healthiest plant, or the plant that has the attributes that you really want. So maybe it was a big fruit or a sweet fruit. Okay. 25 of those should be good for now. This is not something that I put into my production beds whatsoever. This is just for fun for me, my family, and stuff. And then I'm going to take some over to the garden that I'm going to be developing as well. So let's do these cool Kajaris next. Yeah, pumice stone is a better. I haven't tried it out yet, but that's a more natural stone or whatever to use. Sand is another one you can blend in with your soil blocks for drainage. I try to minimize my perlite input into my soil outside, but everyone is their own student. Yeah, I barely use any perlite. I've used like 3 bags over the last year, so it's very minimal. There's not really any negative things to perlite in my opinion. Okay, this is that Kajari Indian melon. And you can see what it looks like. It looks more similar to the Asian melons. Like when I was in Korea, I forgot the name of it, but they eat this yellow melon. It looks kind of similar. And Brigitte told me that this Kajari is really easy to tell if it's ripe. And if you've never grown melons before, that's kind of one of the trickier things about melons, is figuring out when it's fully ripe, when it's going to be sweet. I have a great video about watermelons. I've gotten really good at watermelons over the years, how to pick them when they're really sweet and ripe. So check that out. Like cantaloupe or muskmelon, things like that are way harder to tell. I don't grow them I've only grown them a few times, so I really don't have a lot of experience. I'm sure there's a pretty good way to figure it out. I just haven't done that yet. Whatever, we'll just double it up here. Okay. So this is the Jubilee and Kajari. Kajari. Okay. 2 more, and then I'm going to show you guys how I do my soil blocks. Okay, what do we got here? This is Dunzo. Let's do. Well, let me see what else I got here. Well, okay, I guess I'm on to my peppers now. So let's just do our bell peppers right now. I'll do a tray of the California Wonders, and I'll do a tray of the Heirloom Rainbow Mix. And so Brigitte, the San Diego Seed Company owner and farmer, told me that It's just a mixed pack of different ones. I've never grown the purples. I've never grown the whites before. So if you don't know, when you buy the peppers in the store and they're green, these are actually unripened peppers. So just like the tomatoes are green before they turn color, it's the same exact thing with peppers. So when they ripen, that's when they become like this, and they'll turn into the actual color. They become sweeter. The different compounds in the plant become more medicinal at that point. So actually, if you don't know, there are a lot of people that have problems with the nightshade family of plants. So that would be peppers, tomatoes, potatoes, those plant families. And I think that's because there is some type of like kind of toxin in there. So in my opinion, like nutrition wise, it's always best to cook peppers, to not eat them raw, actually, especially if they're green still. I don't seem to have any issues with them, but some people do. So be aware of that if you've ever noticed a reaction from eating them. All right, just rip this thing. Yeah, my pleasure explaining. No problem at all. Vermiculite would be first because I can get small amounts from my dad. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like whatever you can do, like sometimes I make decisions or I do things a certain way because yeah, it's a little bit cheaper or I have access to it for some reason. You can't do everything perfectly all the time, and you just got to do the best that you can. So these ones I want to be really careful to label because I don't want to get things mixed up. The California Wonders will turn red when they ripen. And so these are from the San Diego Seed Company. You can check out Brigitte on her website, thesanDiegoSeedCompany.com. If you're in zone 10A in America or around that, I would recommend her seeds because acclimatized seeds are just going to do a lot better. Some people, they'll buy seeds from companies that produce their seed in like Missouri or in the north, in Colorado and wherever, and it's way colder there. And the plants, they're adapting their DNA over time to those climates to thrive better there. So some people will plant seeds and they won't have a lot of success, or they'll bolt, or something will go wrong. And that's because they're not using acclimatized seeds. And you might have a lot better success with seeds that were grown closer to your region. So that's kind of another thing to consider that a lot of people don't think about when they're gardening. So if you're in or around zone 10A, or you're in the southwest area of the United States, try out Brigitte's seeds. And this is the first time I've used her seeds. I wish I would have started sooner because I'm busy with other stuff as a farmer, right? And I just don't have time to figure all that out. But I finally went over there and met her, and very excited to try these out and see, how much better they grow compared to other stuff I've done. And I have only a few seeds. So I'm being really careful just to put one seed in each cell. So these peppers I am not gonna do in my field because peppers are not that profitable. What I'm actually gonna do is use these grow bags, and these grow bags are from Bootstrap Farmer. They're my favorite, one of my favorite farm supplies. This greenhouse is made by them. These 10-20 trays are made by them. And one of the things that we're gonna be doing with these grow bags, I'm kind of doing an business experiment for them. And basically the idea is I'm going to kind of grow full-size adult plants that I could sell at the market, sell to customers that come by. They can take it home, have an already established super adult healthy plant that has fruit on it already. All they got to do is keep it alive, keep watering it, and then they can harvest the fruit. So we've even thought about doing this kind of like as a subscription service. Um, hopefully on my website, I'm going to get like a little thing where, people can order like 2 months in advance. I can seed whatever the heck they want. Then they'd come pick it up in the future. And now they've got, culinary herbs, or maybe I was thinking like chard, kale, and collards in one of these, and different combinations. So, give people access to growing food, even if they live in an apartment. So I'm really excited to try this out. We don't know as a business idea if this is going to work, but um, as small farmers, we want to keep trying to innovate and find new ways of doing things to create other revenue streams for us. So what I'm going to do is plant all my peppers in these grow bags. I'll have a little area for them, and then my plan is like I'll be able to sell them as full-size plants, or if I'm not able to sell them, well, now I've got the fruit that I can sell. So it's kind of win-win. I can set this all up with potted irrigation, so it'll be all automatic and really easy. So I'm excited to try this out and see kind of what happens. And what's cool about these grow bags also, they can breathe. So unlike a pot, they allow more air to the soil, which is really beneficial. So it's much healthier for the plant for them to grow in this versus a plastic pot. So that was kind of my the plan this year with that. So because I do not grow peppers in my field, or in my production beds. And if you're curious what sells well, what I've noticed at least in San Diego, bell peppers are the best. That's something that most everybody eats, and they're willing to pay more money for them because they like them. Also, they're used to the high prices of like the hydro-grown peppers from like what's it called? The Netherlands. They're one of the or Holland, right? The Netherlands, Holland. Yeah, Holland. I get confused. Yeah, that's the same country, right? So you can get at least $1. So for a smaller bell pepper, you can get $1. A really large one, you could get like $2 for it. But the pepper plants don't produce that many peppers in general, so it's not that high profit of a crop. Okay. So that's that one. And then let's do some of our the rainbow mix here. These will be fun. And then I won't really know what color they're going to be until they start ripening. So the customers that buy these for their home, it'll be a little mystery for them. And I think that'll be kind of a fun little feature about it. Do you check out Farmer Jesse? Of course, yeah. I love that podcast. And I was actually on it, if you guys want to hear what I had to say on it. But I've listened to every episode of Jesse's No-Till Market Garden podcast. I've learned an incredible amount from that. And I've even incorporated many of the techniques that they talk about. On my last live stream I did some bed prep, and I kind of talked about some of the things that I've adapted from what I learned from that podcast and some of the great farmers that have been on it. If you want to hear any of the podcasts that I've been on, you can go to naturesalwaysright.com, and I post all the podcasts that I've ever been featured on. If you like podcasts. Normally when I'd be doing something like this or I'm harvesting, I'm listening to a podcast, so I'm able to learn while I'm getting other work done. And it makes it really fun. But yeah, I love Farmer Jesse. He's the man. He's got the best new farming podcast. It's so good. Gosh. Sorry I'm taking so long. Almost done. Okay. And then I've got a few more left. So, so I'm gonna seed the rest with the regular bell peppers, and I'm just gonna, that'll be cool, it's fine. They'll just end up red. Alright, that's my whole seed pack. So it looks like I'll have over 100 pepper plants, and that's gonna be plenty. Some of these I'll take over for the garden I'm developing, and some of these, most of them I'll put in the grow bags and stuff. All right, all done. All right, let's stop here. Let me just cover these, and then we'll make soil blocks together, and I'll show you the exact mix that I make and all the little extra special amendments that I put in, because I believe in having the healthiest plants from the very, very beginning. And if you do that, they're going to be able to resist pests and disease way better. And if you don't know, plants from the beginning, they kind of measure out the area where they're at, and they kind of determine, hey, this is the home I'm in, this is where I'm going to set up shop. So they start adjusting their future life cycle based upon that. So that's why spiralizing roots, if you're doing stuff in plug trays, is really not healthy for them, because they start thinking that that's their only home and there's nowhere for the roots to go. So they kind of like say, crap, like this is all I got, so oh well. So this is why I kind of prefer the soil blocks. And anyways, transplanting at the correct time, super important. You don't want to wait. You don't want to wait too long. When they're ready to go in the ground, you should get them in the ground, because, like I said, it's going to affect their future growth quite a bit. Ugh, too much of this big perlite. So if I had some vermiculite, I would have used vermiculite, but I just didn't have any. The cheapest place for me to get vermiculite is like a 30-minute drive for me, so I just haven't made it up there yet. But when I get back from Texas, I'm gonna make that happen. Okay. Making sure I'm getting a good compression. And this is the same thing if you've ever used a direct seeder, or you've seen me use the direct seeder. The back wheel of the seeder is doing that same thing, putting that compression in. And that's just giving it a really nice little seed bed. Okay, that's it. Okay, so now let's move on. Let's go check out the soil blocks, and I'll show you how I do it. This is the actual machine. You can get them from Johnny's and other websites, and I sell a bigger version of this thing as well. So this is like the little dibble that puts the hole in there as well. Okay, let's make the mix. Hey, what's up, Chris? Is there any seeder you can buy to speed up the seeding? Absolutely, yeah. There's vacuum seeders. There's vacuum seeders and drop seeders. You can check those out online, Karen. So yeah, for larger scale setups, that's how you want to do it. Or like the larger scale people, they're doing 10,000 seedlings at a time. They're using plug trays or vacuum seeders, because they can't spend, the time that I'm doing. But I'm 5,000 square feet, 1/8 of an acre, so it's not that big of a deal for me. I eat peppers whole all the time. Dang, dude, that's awesome. Cool. I even have the name of where these seeds were from. The seeds that I just planted, the pepper seeds, just the San Diego Seed Company. I also buy from Johnny's. I buy from True Leaf Market. I buy from High Mowing sometimes. I like Baker Creek a lot, but I'm a market farmer, so I don't do all the weird heirlooms. Okay, so for the soil blocks, it's really important to have the right ratio, because what we want to have happen is make those blocks really congeal together and not break apart. So the ratio is really important, and this is the ratio that I use, that I've found is the best. I'm just getting like the leaves out of there. So my ratio is, I do a five gallon bucket. So I do 1 5-gallon bucket of my homemade compost. I do 1 5-gallon of peat moss. You could also use cocoa coir. It's more expensive. Peat moss is just down the street. I use such a small amount that I just, I know it's a little bit unsustainable, but I haven't moved on to something different. I have a bunch of actually horse manure that I've been composting, and that has a very peat moss-like quality. So I'm gonna actually experiment with that. And but I'm not going to do it right now because I need to depend on what I already know works, and I can experiment in the future and see if like the composted horse manure can kind of replace peat moss, which would be cool. So anyways, 1 5-gallon, so 1 part compost, 1 part peat moss, and I do a 1/2 part of perlite or vermiculite. So let me put that together. And then this ratio, it'll make me 6 10 by 20 trays, which is 300 seedlings. Now what I'm doing, this is another super key part to making soil blocks or just doing transplants in general. You want to sift your compost. This is like one of the things that really helped me get better germination rates and everything. So you can see my compost. I make really good compost in terms of like the health of the soil and the nutrients and everything, but I use a lot of my chicken bedding, which has straw. There's a pecan tree above it, which drops a lot of sticks and stuff. So, if I could shred my compost, that would be a better way. So, this sifter is also not the best. This is something I want to upgrade at some point. Unfortunately, I just haven't done it yet. Like I said, there's always a million things to do. So. And when the compost is a little wet, it kind of rained recently, so it makes it harder to sift it. This is like the worst part of my process right here that I need to upgrade. I'm also doing this on the wrong wheelbarrow too. I should have done this on my other wheelbarrow. There are some cool things you can do. Some people have made like trommels or other ways to make this easier to sift. I just haven't had the time to try to develop one. If anybody has any ideas on how a better way to sift the compost that you figured out, I'd love to know. Or link me to a video, something. That'd be cool. just so wet that it becomes difficult. Almost there. Alright, that's basically almost as good as I can get it right here. Okay, that'll be good enough. So then what I'm left with is, you know, pebbles, the bigger sticks, all the things that I don't want in my sifted compost. So what I like to do with this is just really good mulch basically. So I set it aside and I use it as mulch. It's like super inoculated mulch basically, and worms, and I just give it to my trees or my perennial stuff. Being a little more sloppy than usual because I'm trying to go fast for you guys. Okay, so now check that out. This is what I'm left with. Look how nice that is. Super nice. That's what we want. So now, we're gonna do some perlite or peat moss, and I sift the peat moss as well because there's usually like twigs and weird stuff. If you'd like to support the stream and what I'm doing and teaching you guys, you could super chat me, you could donate through PayPal. If you want a little bit different type of thing, you could support me on Patreon. And on Patreon, I do different little rewards for everybody. I'm gonna start doing private live streams for my patrons as well that nobody else can see. So if you're interested in doing that, really appreciate it. I do lots of different consulting through Patreon as well. Okay. See a little bit more here. Enough peat. So now at this time, I'm also going to add in my other amendments and inoculants and stuff. So I want to have all my trace minerals, both short-term and long-term, in here, and then I'm also going to add biochar. And biochar this. So biochar is charcoal that has been charged. And charging means it's been inoculated with beneficial aerobic, oxygen-loving microbes and fungi. And it also is able to absorb a lot of nutrients. So what I'll do is what I've just been doing, I just make small amounts of biochar right now. So I'll take one handful and mix that in. I also add a handful to every compost I put out in the field. I put it in my worm teas. I don't have a full video on making biochar yet, but I will be doing that in the future. If I had some worm tea ready to go, I would also, when I get the soil mix wet, I would add tea as well. This is rock dust. And rock dust has like 70 different trace minerals. It's the micronized, so it becomes available to the plants a little more quickly. The microbes do need to break it down a little bit. Then this is kelp meal, and kelp meal is great, kind of more long-term, a little bit more long-term micronutrient. So I just do a handful of that, and that's it. Those are the couple extra things that I like to add. And I like adding it to the peat moss because it makes it easier to incorporate and mix into the total mixture. So that, my soil blocks from the beginning, these plants now have every possible thing they could need to thrive. Then I'm also spraying my worm and compost tea every 2-3 weeks, so I'm hitting them foliarly with beneficial microbes, fungi, and micronutrients every couple of weeks on their leaves as well. So I just believe in constantly giving your plants everything that they could need in very small amounts. And the soil is really what's doing, when you have healthy soil, that's what's doing the most work for you, breaking down the organic material, making the micronutrients available to the plants, delivering it to the plants. Like a lot of people think that, you just add in, well, if you're using a synthetic fertilizer, it is available right away, but you shouldn't ever use synthetics. That actually kills soil biology. The organic material we add and all this stuff, it's broken down more slowly over time by the microbes and fungi, and the plants are actually communicating and orchestrating with the soil organisms to get the nutrients and the things that they need for health. And that's what's actually going on in the soil. And it's something that we've only figured out really in the last about 30 years, and really in the last 10 years have we really found out a lot more. This wheelbarrow sucks, it's way too short. Usually I use this other one. If you want to learn more about soil science and some of that stuff I was just talking about, check out Elaine Ingham. She's the most famous soil scientist, I would say, in this world, talking about regenerative agriculture. You could check out Jeff Lowenfels. He wrote the books Teeming with Microbes, Teeming with Fungi, Teeming with Nutrients, which are all extremely important books to read if you want to understand what's actually happening with your plants. If you're a professional grower, you need to read those books and know who those people are. And then this once again goes into my mulch pile where I collect everything, and then I've always got this super nutrient boosted mulch that I can spread out for my perennials. So nothing ever goes to waste. Okay, that is everything. So then what I do, oh, no it's not. I need to add perlite. But you know, this wheelbarrow is a little small, so what I'm gonna do is put it in my bucket here. I should have used my bigger wheelbarrow. So I put it into my tote here. Normally I would mix this in the wheelbarrow because it's much easier. Here's the Vermiculite. Now another amendment I could put in here as well would be worm castings. I do make a lot of worm castings, but I like to save my worm castings for my teas and stuff mostly. So, or also in the summer I like to fertilize with it. So I kind of like to save up my worm castings for that. Just because between the compost and the other stuff I'm putting in here, you know, it's really good. They've got enough. The seedlings have enough to get going. They don't need that much in the way of nutrients. So, and actually, the beginning of the plant's life, it's generating all that energy, creating the roots and the first leaves from the seed itself. So like when you do microgreens, you're just growing to the cotyledon or that baby leaf stage, and the baby leaf and those first roots, all that energy is coming from the seed itself. It's not actually, you're not actually getting nutrients from the soil to create those leaves and those roots in the beginning. Then the plant switches over, it switches to photosynthesis, and then the root photosynthesis relationship is able to take over. Normally I wouldn't be on the ground like this. I'm usually never trying to work on the ground. I'm trying to save my back, but I'm doing it for the stream. So, okay, you got to get it really well mixed. Make sure the perlite or vermiculite or whatever you're using is super well mixed in with everything, because that's going to help you for your blocks. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So, check this out. So this is where the final product here, look at that. Doesn't that look like professional mix you'd buy at a store or something? That's what we want. We want it to be this really fluffy, loose stuff. This is gonna make really good blocks. Okay, so now the next step is to get it wet. So for that, we'll go back in here. And let's see. This is the first time I've done my blocks inside. So let me figure this out. You know, I'm gonna put you guys up here. I think this will be cool view for you. Let me just move a couple things. And then I'm gonna get some trays ready. So, unfortunately, I ran out of my bootstrap trays. I just ordered 30 more of them. I'm totally not showing you guys anything. Oops. Where are we? There, somewhere like that. Okay. So let me get the trays ready. Throw my thing in. Alrighty. Okay. So I need to get this wet. Now this is the next super important part. The sun's right in my eye. the next very important is get this to the right moisture consistency. And this is something just, you know, you get better at over time and figuring this out. If you're starting out with soil blocks, I actually recommend that you have some holes, a couple holes drilled in the bottom of your bin, so that if you put too much water in, the excess will drain out. When the blocks are too wet, it gets all sloppy and it's harder to make them. You could add in more of your mixture to try to soak up some of the water. And it takes a lot more water than you would imagine. But yeah, soil can hold a heck of a lot of water. So I'm gonna let this fill up and get some trays ready. Alright, we got enough ready. So, typically what I'll do is I'll add a good amount of moisture. I'll stop, I'll mix it, and then kind of see where we're at. And I'm going to show you guys what the consistency really looks like that you're looking for. The sun's right in my eye, I can't see what the camera's showing. And you want to make sure to get down deep, down to the bottom, get all that dry material. As you're blocking, you know, it needs to be very consistent as far as the soil goes. So it needs a lot more. And props to everybody for not watching the Super Bowl. I congratulate you on that. Maybe you're going to go watch it later. I'm actually going to go to my family's house later. I can't turn down all the good free food and barbecue, so. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of brainwashing going on. A lot of stupid commercials and all that. I'm not into sports ball, so sorry if you are. Alrighty. Oh, we're getting there, we're getting there. And then as I'm pulling up, I'm finding kind of some drier pockets. And when we get to the right consistency, it's going to be kind of jiggly. A little bit like Jell-O, not as jiggly as Jell-O, but close. So now that we're getting closer, I got to be more careful. I don't want to add too much moisture and make it more difficult on myself to block. Make sure you guys can see. This is the coming up on the important part here. Okay. And I'll answer questions once I get my hands clean. Let's try that. We're really close. Very close. That'll probably do it. Might be able to use a little more. Okay, so then to test it, this is what I do. I kind of pat it down. I don't know if you can see that, but I kind of spank it and see how it jiggles like that. That's the consistency that you want. And then now I can test it. And I always do one test block to see. Yeah, this is pretty good moisture. And then I just to test it, you can kind of throw it on your hand. It should have enough moisture that it doesn't break apart, and that's really good. I'm pretty happy with this. This will work. This will work really well. Okay, so that's it. Now let me show you some technique with this. So with the soil blocker, if you just go straight down and straight up, they're not in there because it kind of creates a suction force, and you can't see, but the blocks are stuck down in there. So the technique to avoid that, you need to do a rolling motion like this, either like this, or you can do a side-to-side rolling motion. I do forwards like that, and then you're just putting it in the blocker. So then you just set it in the tray, click it, and get it down in there. And if you got the right consistency, then it makes it really quick and easy. You know, like 4 presses in there, and you keep moving. And then as I'm moving forward, I push against the blocks a little. So make sure that they're all going to fit well. Yeah. I'm going to answer a couple of questions in case you guys had some questions during this time. And then I'm just going to block these out real quick. And I'll try to get the camera set up a little better. God, it's brutal. The sun's brutal right now. Whew. Let me... Yeah, Mountain Seed has really good prices. Yeah, Dr. Earth makes good nutrients. I'm a fan. And you know what's cool about doing the soil blocks? I'm inoculating my body and my skin with microbes as well. So I kind of like that part of it. Steve Solomon, Intelligent Gardener, best tested and then amend. I took like 3 years off of farming, but I've been farming for like 5 years now, I guess, and growing commercially. And and this whole time, I've never soil tested. I believe in nature, and if you follow the systems of nature, it balances itself naturally. I know the Albrecht method and blah 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 blah, but and you know you can balance your soil like that as well, but you know the microbes and the fungi are also doing that for us. So, but yeah, doing a soil test is great, and to me the real point of doing a soil test is to prove that these regenerative natural methods are working over time, improving your soil organic matter, you know, providing the dissolved or the available nutrients that are actually water soluble and all that. So that's a really good thing. But if you're doing a no dig or low till situation and you're adding tons of organic matter in the form of compost, it's just going to become balanced, because when you have all those beneficial microbes and the fungi, they balance the pH, they balance the minerals for you. And the Albrecht method, or whoever, this is a reductionist viewpoint or idea. So humans think that, we understand these certain nutrients and these plants need these certain things, but we don't even we barely understand the mechanisms going on with these plants. We just barely scratched the surface. So to try to say that, the plants need NPK and they need calcium, magnesium, phosphate, and these ratios and da-da-da-da. Yeah, we know some facts about that, but we don't know everything. And it's so complex that I don't believe that we will ever fully figure it out, because of the fractal nature of this world and the universe. As we dig down deeper and deeper and deeper, there's more and more microscopic organisms and mechanisms that we're finding. If you just, for example, so I'm going off on a tangent, but this is really important to me, and this is why my farm is called Nature's Always Right. So, if you look at nutrition, for example, over the past 50 years, there's been gigantic leaps in the understanding of nutrition. There's also been a lot of propaganda and brainwashing via the government and corporations. So, they used to say that, remember when the whole thing was the fat-free diet, that, during the 90s, that, fat's bad for you, and you should eat margarine, which is vegetable oil, GMO'd, completely filled with poisons. They used to just say, you need carbohydrates, protein, and fat. That's all you need. And that's basically the same thing as when we first discovered NPK 50 years ago, 60 years ago, whenever it was. That's what they said. All plants need is nitrogen, potassium, and phosphate. And then as we went deeper, nope, guess what? That's not true at all. So now with nutrition, we know about micronutrients. Now what's happening in the field of nutrition is the understanding of gut biology and gut biome, and how ridiculously important that is to our health. Well, it goes the same for the soil and the plants as well. It is like literally the exact same pattern, and that's what happens in nature. These patterns, because it has been designed, the same patterns exist all throughout nature. So the soil biology breaks down the nutrients for the plants, and in our gut biome, which is also related to soil biome, breaks down the nutrients for us to absorb. If we don't have gut biome, we die. 90% of the cells in our body are bacteria and fungi. We're only 10% human cells. So that's something that is unlimited, is super fascinating to me. And anyways, that's why I really don't like the reductionist ideas of, figure out these things and then add these things and everything's going to be okay. And it's true to a certain extent, but because of the complex nature of reality and nature, we will never fully understand it. We only know 50% of the nutrients in food. Did you know that? Vitamin K was just discovered 20 years ago. And we know that there's other nutrients in food, but we haven't discovered what they are yet. So to even say that we know that much about nutrition right now is kind of ludicrous. Anyway, so if you just do it nature's way, do it the way God designed things, guess what? It works out perfectly, because natural systems are the ultimate. Synthetic human systems, they pervert things and toxins get introduced and you're killing biology, which are all the things that we need. Anyways, that's something I'm very passionate about. So let's keep making soil blocks. And let's make sure I got the camera on us here. There we go. And if you're interested in the stuff I was just talking about, you need to research Dr. Elaine Ingham, Jeff Lowenfels. You should listen to this one podcast by Rich Roll, Dr. Zach Bush. Incredible interview. He did 2 different podcasts with him. It's all about glyphosate and how it's destroying the human and gut biome and all that. what are the advantages of the blocks over cell trays? Well, these blocks, they root prune, or they air prune, I mean. So the root structure is far healthier for the plants, and planting them is really easy. You don't have to poke out the plug trays. They take more time to make up front. Exactly. In organic farming, the microorganisms balance everything. But, you know, if you want to get instant like fertility and instant balance, then you can soil test. It's just much more expensive to do it that way. You're bringing in a ton of inputs. You're speeding up the process, basically. My hat, I don't know, this is my dad's hat, and he gave it to me. I've gone through so many straw hats. I need to find like a leather one or something. Like, the straw hats are cool and everything, but they just break on me. They always get destroyed. Yeah, we think we are human, but it turns out we're 90% microbe, and it's pretty trippy, man. It's really interesting. How often do you use the 4-inch soil blocker? I don't use the 4-inch soil blocker. I use the 2-inch soil blocker for everything. My tomatoes, I'm gonna pot them up. The tomatoes, the squash, the bigger things, I will pot them up. Grew out cover crops. Yeah, cover crops are incredible. And compost teas, of course, are awesome. And I've got videos about how to make compost tea and all that. If you're more interested in natural farming and kind of where I see the future going, obviously compost teas and worm teas and stuff, that's part of it. If you want to go way deeper into a methodology that's highly developed versus kind of the more the Western system, it's called Korean natural farming. And this is something I'm getting into now that I've been messing with for the last like 6 months. You know, I've talked about it on my Instagram a lot, and I've talked about it on YouTube a little bit, but there's a lot to learn, and there's already some really great teachers that have been doing it for over 10 years. And those are the guys that I listen to and learn from. And if you're interested, those teachers are called, look up the YouTube, his name's Drake, D-R-A-K-E. His name's Eric Weinhardt, and he's got so much Korean natural farming information. Or you can go to Korean natural farming, what is it? naturalfarminghawaii.net. If you just search Korean natural farming in Google, his website comes up first. You should also check out Chris Trump. He's on YouTube as Chris Trump, and he, in my opinion, he's got the best like how-to videos on how to make the different inputs for Korean natural farming. In Korean natural farming, basically, there's a few, there's like, I don't know, 15 or so different inputs that they make. So one of the most important ones is called IMO, or indigenous microorganisms. And basically with IMO, you're collecting the most diverse and most advanced organisms. The best places to do it are in a forest. That is kind of the furthest, as far as ecological succession goes. That's sort of the furthest on the scale. So those have the most advanced and diverse microbes. So collecting from a forest is really good. I haven't had the opportunity to do that yet, but I've collected from my yard, near my compost pile and chicken area, places where you're going to have, pretty developed soil microbes. And what you do is, to collect them, you will kind of dry cook rice, put it in a cedar box or a wicker box, you cover it with a paper towel, and then the microbes colonize the rice and grow. And you're growing them, and you collect it in, it takes like 3 to 5 days depending on the temperature, and you're growing those out, and you're collecting them early in the morning before they bloom, and then you mix that rice with 1-to-1 brown sugar, and what the sugar does is it pulls out all the moisture from the rice. And effectively what happens is it puts the microbes into a frozen state where they're sleeping and they're not active, they're not feeding, they're just waiting. And it happens through an osmotic process. So the brown sugar osmosis is just like it's pulling the water out and it's sucking it into the sugar molecule. So it stabilizes it, and then what you have is IMO2. And IMO2 is a stable form that you can, I recently used my IMO2 to help add more microorganisms to my compost. So definitely check out Chris Trump and Drake on YouTube if you guys want to learn more. I'm not going to start teaching about Korean natural farming until I've learned a lot more, and I'm hoping to take one of their classes soon because they're supposed to be coming out to SoCal soon. But you know, maybe in another year or something I'll make some videos about Korean natural farming. But I'm just not ready yet. Some other Korean natural farming inputs that are awesome. I just made with my buddy Kurt, we made some calcium phosphate. And calcium phosphate is really good for root growth. And I think it's also really good for creating like really strong cell walls of the plant and creates really strong plants basically. And you make it from charring. Usually they make it from cow bones, so that's what we did. I just went down to the butcher, got a bunch of cow bones, and then you basically can throw it on a barbecue and you burn off all the organic material, you burn out the bone marrow, the flesh, everything, so that all you're left with is charred bone, and charred bone is calcium phosphate. Now, what we need, what you have to do though, is extract that. It's still in the bone, right? So you kind of smash up the bone, and then you add fermented brown rice vinegar. And the fermented brown rice vinegar extracts and pulls out the calcium phosphate from the bone and puts it in a water-soluble form. So it allows us to have a foliar spray for calcium phosphate. So Korean natural farming is a way to create nutrients all on site, all from natural materials that are very cheap or even free. So it's a very cheap and effective way of doing organic farming. And I see it as a huge part of the future of organic or regenerative farming. I don't like to use the word organic really anymore because the stupid USDA ruined that word. If you don't know, the USDA organic program is kind of a big joke. They're allowed to use like 15 different organic pesticides or biocides like BT. You know, it's better to use those, like BT or spinosad. That's better than using atrazine or some crazy pesticide. But ultimately, we're killing soil biology if we're using those. So for me, I want us to get away as farmers. I want us to get away from the USDA organic program and honestly just completely abandon it. I think the USDA label maybe makes sense if you're selling in grocery stores or someplace where your brand really can't shine. But for me to call my produce USDA organic, I would actually be, I would be saying that my food is worse than what it actually is. Like the quality that I grow vegetables to is so, the standards that I use are so much higher than USDA organic. I would never want to call my stuff USDA organic because I don't use any type of pesticide. I don't use any type of synthetic nutrient. So those are that's kind of my thoughts on the program. Unfortunately, what happens with all regulations is these companies pay off the politicians and then the whole thing falls apart. So if we can manage it privately, that'd be a much better solution because then there's actual oversight if the company goes off the rails, we find out about that publicly, and then we stop using them or believing their label anymore. But when it's the government, the problem is everyone thinks that the government has everybody's best interest at heart. But if you know anything about the FDA or the USDA and kind of how the whole food system was developed and destroyed, you know, with GMOs and synthetics and tilling and all this stuff, this was all subsidized by the US government itself. And this is ultimately the reason why our food system is so corrupted and messed up. Because if you don't know, corn and soy, those farmers are given money regardless. Like some of them are even given money to like not even farm basically. And a lot of this, especially the corn, it's for animal feed and for making ethanol, which ethanol is a worthless fuel. And anyways, subsidies, they just unfortunately they incentivize the wrong actions. And then maybe they start out with good intentions, but over time, these big companies, big ag, will lobby and they'll adjust the law to suit themselves. They push out the competition, and then they can destroy us little guys, you know. And that's unfortunately what happens with government regulation. It's used as a way to control competition and not provide consumer safety, which, you know, that's what it should be doing, right? We want a way to know whether or not our food is safe. And we want a way to know what our farmers are doing without having to like actually be there and see what they're doing. So a lot of innovation needs to happen, in my opinion, in the next 10 years in this field, and a lot of education needs to happen as well. Because a lot of people believe, even a lot of farmers think that ag subsidies are a good thing, when in reality they're just not. And in my opinion, it's the reason why our food system has gotten to the point where it's gotten. You know, I don't know if you guys know, but Hillary Clinton was a lawyer for Monsanto. So, and what else? Oh, Obama appointed the VP of Monsanto. He was the head of the FDA during Obama's administration. So there's this revolving door between these very evil corporations and government, because you know, it's money and power. If they can control the food system, guess what? They control the whole game. And if they can create sick people, they also control the whole healthcare system. So you create sick people, now they have to go into this corrupt healthcare system, put them on very expensive pharmaceuticals, and now you got this cyclical thing of disease creation. And this is why we're at where we're at with food. And you can, all this stuff that I just told you is absolutely true. You can look it all up. It's all factual. And if you don't know, recently Bayer bought Monsanto. You may have heard that Monsanto just got sued. They got sued for like $290 million by a school gardener. He got Hodgkin's lymphoma, and they were able to link it to glyphosate, which is Roundup. And it's pretty disgusting. Glyphosate, if you don't know about glyphosate or Roundup, it destroys human gut biome. It actually makes our guts impermeable. The gut lining is actually supposed to be separate from our body. It's kind of a trippy thing to think about, but from our mouth to our butt is completely separate from the rest of our body. There's not supposed to be a leakiness. So if you've ever heard of leaky gut, that's caused by gut permeability. And gut permeability happens because the gut is being inflamed, and it's usually being inflamed by Roundup, glyphosate. This is why so many people have problems with wheat now, or gluten allergies and all that. In my opinion, well, it's twofold. It's the glyphosate and other poisons they're putting on it, as well as over time, they've changed, by breeding wheat, they've made the kernel bigger so that they can produce more volume and more yield of flour. And they've increased the protein, the gluten protein in wheat, so it's much bigger, and not more of the heirloom natural wheat. And that's why we're having such problems with wheat. It should be a fine thing to eat, but we've bastardized it basically. So anyways, guys, this is why I farm. This is why I do my YouTube channel, because I'm trying to educate people on the truth and what's actually happening in our world. Most people don't really have an understanding of it or really know, but us regenerative farmers, we know. And farmers are the people who actually give you health. Your doctor doesn't create health for you. They can't. They don't even understand nutrition, most of them. All they can do is mask your symptoms. You know, doctors and hospitals are really great if you get in a car accident or you're in the ICU or something like that. But when it comes to disease, they're worthless. They don't know how to treat disease. So if you want to have health, you should know your farmer and know how they grow their food. You know, most of us, if you live in the city, you're not touching this. This is like, this is life right here. This is inoculating my body as I'm doing this. I'm breathing in the microbes. Something that Dr. Zach Bush talks about. You guys got to look him up. Dr. Zach Bush. Something he talked about was one of the reasons going out in nature is so important to humans, and why we usually feel so good and nice after taking a walk in the forest. Those are advanced ecosystems, and the biology and all that is floating around in the air, and we're actually breathing it in. You can inoculate yourself with healthy bacteria by being in these advanced ecosystems. And you know, going to the mountains, going to the sea, going to the desert, going to natural environments, and exposing yourself to various types of microbes and all that is just going to make you a much healthier person. And you know, as we are living in cities more and more, we're living in these homes filled with toxic chemicals. We're slowly sterilizing ourselves, basically. And sterile environments are the opposite of humans. As I said earlier, we're 90% bacteria. So we wouldn't want to hurt that, would we? I wish I could see what you guys were saying right now. I'm curious what you think about what I'm saying. But these are things I want to talk about on my channel more. You know, my focus is to try to educate people about how to farm and how to grow food, but not enough people are talking about these issues and the actual solutions to fixing human health and fixing soil health. You know, I try not to get too political with stuff, but unfortunately, politics is very wrapped up in human health, because, you know, there's money and power involved in controlling the health of other human beings. All right, I got 2 more to go, and then we'll seed some more stuff. We'll start seeding some more summer stuff. And as soon as I'm done, I'll respond to any questions and comments and stuff. So I'm gonna seed these out, and then once I seed, I'll talk to you guys for a little bit, and then I think I'll head out for the day. So we got another 30-40 minutes together, I think. if you'd like to donate to the stream and what I'm talking about and pushing this knowledge more forward out into the future, I'd really love any, if you'd like to, if you have the extra money, to donate, because everything I make, I put back into my channel or my farm, but mostly I want to put it back into my channel so I can spend more time trying to educate. And kind of my next goal is I want to be able to hire a part-time employee to free up my time a little bit more so I can create more content, more advanced content, more I want to make some more inspirational content, more shareable stuff that will kind of wake people up more. Anyways, that's what if you've ever donated to me or something, that's what I do with the money. I'm not somebody who, I'm never going to own a Mercedes. Even if I become a millionaire, I'm not into that. Money's a tool that I can use to advance knowledge for other people, and I develop large-scale pieces of agriculture. That's kind of my ultimate dream, is to develop really large-scale permanent agriculture systems. And that's what permaculture is, if you've ever heard of that. If you're interested in really cool permanent agriculture systems, one of my favorite guys is Mark Shepard. That guy, he's in Vermont, I believe, and he's doing things like agroforestry systems, combining that with silvopasturing, which is combining animals into your agriculture system, and trees, and perennials, and annuals. Kind of as you're trying to mimic the ecosystem the best that you can. And he's got a great book called Restoration Agriculture. If you like that stuff, then like Jeff Lawton's another super famous he's British actually. I always think he's Australian, but I think he's actually British. There's a bunch of those people. Darren Doherty, he's an Australian. And those guys are developing like thousands of acres or even like tens of thousands of acres at a time. Or if you're Alan Savory, he's another very famous person. He's somebody who, he's one of the people that kind of discovered the whole mob style grazing of animals and how that works on like the savannah in Africa. And that guy's got a pretty interesting story. Alan Savory was, I can't remember the story exactly, but basically he was called into Africa to try to figure out why the land was degrading, and he thought that it was because there was too many elephants. And it was kind of his biggest mistake of his life that he admits to, is they ended up killing a ton of these elephants because they thought that they were eating too much vegetation, and that was causing the erosion of soil. But after killing a ton of elephants, they eventually realized that it was the opposite. That when you have more grazing animals on land, if they are moved, if they're allowed to graze naturally and they continue to move and they're in these large quantities very close together, the land is actually regenerated. Joel Salatin, I'm sure a lot of you guys know Joel Salatin. He's somebody in America who's proven that scientifically on his farm. And Joel Salatin is another incredible person in regenerative agriculture. All right, almost done. Last tray. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope it's been entertaining and educational for you. I get down to the bottom, a lot of times it's hard to get the blocks really good, like really tall, so I'll just shove in with my hand a little bit more soil. Sometimes at the bottom it gets a little wet and more sloppy, so it gets a little trickier. But if you've never tried soil blocks and you're interested, I think it's the best way to start seeds for small scale. And what's also cool is, you know, we're not using plastic cell trays, right? If you get like the Bootstrap Farmer 1020s, those things are going to last you like, I don't know, maybe 10 years, at least 5 years, at least. So we're using a lot less plastic by doing it this way, which is really good. There's a lot of plastic use in farming right now. Once again, back to government, you know, they made hemp and cannabis, the whole cannabis family of plants, illegal. You know, the last 100 years, we could have been developing all these different plant-based plastics, hempcrete, all these industrial materials, paper. We didn't have to cut down all these trees. But since the government made it illegal, because if you want to look into it, William Randolph Hearst, he was in the beginning of America, there was a lot of these business tycoon guys that they owned most of the oil industry, most of the paper industry, most of the railroad industry and all that. And William Randolph Hearst, he owned all the logging. He owned all the logging companies, and he also owned the logging to make paper, right? He also owned a lot of the newspapers. So what the guy did is he created a bunch of fake stories saying that they weren't even concerned about the drug nature of cannabis. They were more concerned with the industrial side of it. So they just made up a bunch of lies, basically, that racist lies. They said that black people and Mexicans were, you know, attacking white people, basically. They just created they fabricated all these lies, and then, you know, got the government to make the plant illegal. And that's why we're at where we're at. Luckily, hemp is now legal nationwide, and a few people online I know have gotten the license to grow hemp, and it's a really exciting new industry. I can't wait to see what happens with it because of all the industrial things that we can do with it. And it's just a real bummer that, you know, we're still using oil-based plastics when we could have had 100 years of innovation surrounding plant-based plastics. And hemp is such a renewable plant. It's unbelievable. The amount of biomass that it creates compared to trees is ridiculous. It economically makes way more sense to grow hemp to create paper and all this stuff. One of the first drafts of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution was made on hemp paper. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of politics that's involved with farming. A lot. Which is kind of crazy because why these people think that they can control nature and control free human beings and tell us what we can and can't grow and do. And it's really sad, but if we can get the truth out there, things change. Saying the truth destroys lies. Almost done. So anyways, yeah, it'll be cool to see what happens with hemp. Obviously, it's an incredible food source. The building materials that we can make are incredible. Like the hempcrete, it's like 40% more insulating, something like that, than concrete. We can make our houses out of it. So it's pretty exciting to see what will happen. last one here. Yeah, that's all we got. So. Okay. Woohoo! All right, let me just clean off my hands and then we'll see. All right, let me take a little break. I need some water. Oh, man. Let's see what you guys said about all my crazy talk. Not too much. All right. Oh, Dr. Gerson. Yeah, that's fantastic. One of my buddies, that helps me out here sometimes, Eric. He worked for the Gerson Institute for like 8 years, and yeah, Gerson's incredible. So Dr. Gerson, if you don't know, is somebody. It's one of the systems of curing cancer naturally. And if you don't know, there's a lot of different cures for cancer out there. Chemotherapy is disgusting. It is. I hope that it will be seen as ridiculous as bloodletting someday. My recipe for soil blocks, Mark, is 1 part compost, 1 part peat, and a half part of perlite or vermiculite. You can also substitute in cocoa coir for peat moss. You could substitute pumice stone for perlite. My soil blocker I got from my buddy Jared, but you can get it from Johnny Seeds. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're gonna go seed a little bit more. I'll keep talking and then I'm gonna take off. I don't know what the heck time it is, but 4:30, okay. Healthy land requires input from animals. Absolutely. I 100% agree. This whole veganic idea is a bit ridiculous. They don't really understand nature and how it works. But you can also grow things veganically as well. Cool, I'm glad you found it educational. Yeah, don't study agriculture at a university. They're like 20 years behind. They don't know what they're doing. They're gonna teach you conventional crappy ag. Yeah, Deidre, getting rid of cannabis was extremely racially motivated. That's how they got everybody to agree to it. Everyone believed the lie. But if you know the truth, there's no such thing as race. There's one race, the human race. And it's pretty disgusting that they try to push this BS on us, that we are different and we're not. We just adapted to our different climates. Salatin, Richard Perkins, yeah, I love it. I love Richard. I watch his YouTube all the time. He's fantastic. I'm thinking about maybe signing up for his online course actually, and he's fantastic. Hey Rich, what's up, buddy? Yeah, Perkins is amazing. There's so many right now. It's incredible. Like there's a revolution in regenerative agriculture right now. Absolutely, like everything is changing right now. There's so many amazing teachers to learn from, and yeah, it's unbelievable. So yeah, if you check out the different people that I told you about today, that those are some of the foremost experts in these fields. Okay, so let's just seed these blocks out, and then I'm gonna get going because I'm gonna go over to my family's house. We're gonna do a barbecue and stuff. I don't even know what I'm planting next. Oh, I need to do these Hungarian peppers. I love these peppers. If you guys ever, I can recommend them. If you like hot peppers, but not peppers that are like too out of control. They're like a jalapeno or a little bit less as far as that. Yeah, Perkins course is way more affordable. It's like a monthly fee versus like $2,000 or something if you're doing Curtis's or Never Sinks or JMs. All those guys are incredible though. So let's just make some more room. Yeah, like my dream is to do something kind of like Richard's doing someday. I'm really into integrated agriculture with animals and agroforestry, and trying to mimic natural systems as close as we can. We'll never be able to because we're humans and agriculture isn't a natural thing. But the closer that we get to nature, the better. Nature's always right. Remember that. Oh, you know what I need to do is lettuce. That's what we're going to mostly do right now. I need to do another succession of my lettuce crops. This is for my, most of the stuff we did earlier was mostly for fun and for the other garden I'm developing. And my lettuce is for my production crops, so my high value stuff. So real quick, I guess we'll just do these peppers, because I'd love to get a round of these peppers going. And if you didn't see earlier, this is from San Diego Seed Company. They are fantastic. An interview with Richard Perchins is coming up on Rough Draft. That would be cool. I don't know. I didn't know that. Yeah, Charles Dowding. That's another one. Charles Dowding is the man. He's doing completely no dig, no tillage at all, not even minimal till, nothing. Charles is another fantastic teacher. Thanks for sharing the information, guys, and helping each other. I really love that. What would be best to make beds? Soil/manure. Are you doing raised beds or in soil beds? Want to make beds on the ground. Oh, on the ground. So, there's a few ways to do it. I've got a couple of videos about it. The plot I developed here that we're on right now, I did a cover crop and a sheet mulch, and then I used a tiller because I've got heavy clay ground. So I incorporated all that organic material into there, and then, I never tilled again. Because I believe in no-till or low-till. That, of course, is the best way to preserve soil biology and all that. So that's one way to do it. If you've got really frozen, compacted ground and you want to create garden beds easily, then that, to me, using a tiller is acceptable one time in the beginning. And that way you can kind of incorporate a bunch of compost or organic material. You can do a soil drench in the form of compost worm teas to get a ton of that biology into the soil. And then after that, you switch over to no-till. And every time you remake a bed, you could add compost or your amendments and all that. If you've got more time and you don't want to start gardening or farming right away, then you can use cover crops. You could do sheet mulches. You could use, if you got years of time, I'd spread out a ton of compost. I'd do like a bunch of mulch, and you just let that decompose over like 3 years, 3-4 years, and it'll become insanely rich, amazing soil. There's so many ways to prep the ground naturally, or with minimal till, and it kind of just depends on your soil structure. It depends on how much money you have, how much time you have, and all of that. You prep land with animals. Like Justin Rhodes is a really cool homesteader guy, and another, you can prep the ground with, you could have chickens on the ground on this area for 6 months or a year, move them to the next little section, and then you've got really rich soil there. Let's see if I have any more. Aha. Wow, it worked out perfect. That was the right amount of pepper seed. 33% battery. All right, I'm gonna make it. How was the stream? Was it choppy or laggy? I'm in zone 10A, so if you have a greenhouse, you can, and you're in a lower zone, you can start your summer stuff now. Jesse of Rough Draft Farmstead is, I just saw him seeding all his stuff right now. And whereas he's in Kentucky, so it's, I don't know what zone that is, maybe 8 or something, 7, I don't know. So next we're gonna do my lettuce here. And I'll show you guys the varieties I'm really loving right now. Red Sail is one of them. It's a beautiful red, kind of variegated, speckled red and green. Most of it's red, but you pull back the leaves and it has green underneath. It's beautiful. And it has great flavor and everything. So I'm a big fan of Red Sail. Little Gem, that's my favorite romaine lettuce that I've grown. I've also done, what's it called? Paris Island, that's a good romaine too. And you know what? I don't even label my lettuce unless it's like something special, just because I can tell what it is at this point. I just need to label my peppers, and then we'll just do the lettuce real quick. They were Hungarians. Pepper, and then okay. Now, when I'm seeding my lettuce, since I've got my greenhouse now, I try to just put like 1 or 2 seeds because the germination rates are so much better in a greenhouse. Or if you don't have a greenhouse, you can create a little a germination chamber. Lots of people have videos online on how to make them. And that way you're saving seed and you're not having to take a lot of time thinning later on. So let me just plan this out. Butter crunch. So yeah, Little Gem for my romaine. Butter Crunch, which is a bib type of lettuce. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's part butterhead, part like romaine. It's kind of how I would describe it. I don't know. So let's do 2 of these. 2, 2, 2. Okay. I'll do 2 trays of each. Oops. And how I drop the seed, I just barely move my finger until I see a seed drop. You can get a little, there are little machines you can get, but I find my hand works just as good or faster, so. Lettuce seed is, has pretty high germination rate, so you only need to put 1 or 2 in there. Okay. My lettuce usually comes out bitter. That may be soil can be the cause of that. Also, hot weather. If you're growing it and it's too hot, it will definitely get bitter. It may start to bolt even. Bolting means it's going to seed, and then it will definitely get bitter. What's the best soil making for lettuce? You know, greens, you can grow it in straight up compost. But having trace minerals is really good. Peppers for the market, they're all right. Um, the bell peppers sell the best for me. Hot peppers, I don't recommend growing hot peppers really because not too many people are into it. At least where I'm at. I'm in San Diego, or at least the markets that I'm at, selling at, or people aren't that interested. They're not that high profit. Maybe you make a value added crop or something and you make some, you know, what do you call it? Some pepper flake stuff or something. But because I'm doing the peppers to do in grow bags, and I'm going to sell them as nursery plants, but it'll also have the bonus of I'll be able to harvest peppers as well if I don't sell them. And I'll be making a video, an actual YouTube video about grow bags and this kind of new little idea that me and Bootstrap Farmer are working with. Oh, and also the greenhouse that I'm in right now, my build video is coming out tomorrow. So it's going to be all about how to build a greenhouse, and I show you guys every little step all throughout the way. I show you all my mistakes, how I fixed it, and the different things that happen. But it came out awesome. This is the first greenhouse I've ever built. And germination is so good from quality seed. Absolutely. Yeah, you gotta have quality seed. Otherwise it's not gonna work out too well. My lettuce in zone 6 grew up until late October. Nice. Oops. It's so cool. You guys are watching me instead of the Super Bowl. That's awesome. If you're not from America, the Super Bowl is well, maybe you even know what it is. I don't know. It's like the biggest quote sporting event in the world, but it only happens in America. American football. Yeah, I turned it off this year. Good job, Beth. We don't need to see all the propaganda that they're going to be showing us on those commercials. I guarantee you they're going to be putting out some major BS on there. Super what? Love it. I know, and it's so annoying too because it's the stupid Patriots. They're a bunch of cheating dirtbags too, and they're in the Super Bowl every year. So ridiculous. I think planting seeds is a heck of a lot more fun than watching the Super Bowl. But I hope that you guys learned a lot from the stream. I talked a lot of different subjects. That's what's so fun about doing the streams for me because I just kind of go off on a tangent and just let it ride. And it's fun because I used to be an English teacher for like 4 years, and that's kind of how I'm able to keep talking like this because I had a lot of practice. And it's pretty cool, you guys. I want you to let you know that if you're somebody who's really shy or scared in front of people or things like that, you should know. Oh, I can't use this. You should know that I used to be incredibly shy, incredibly anxious, and I remember in my public speaking class in college, I had to, you have to do speeches or whatever in front of the class. I'd be up there with my paper, like I remember my head would shake, like it go like shake like that, and couldn't even get the words out. And but through a ton of practice and 4 years of teaching and all, now been making YouTube videos, I've been able to change myself and become someone who can talk in front of people. So I used to be very, very shy. I really was when I was, 18 in my early 20s. I'm 31 now. So I just want to encourage you guys, you can change, you can develop other attributes about yourself that you didn't know you could. I promise you, it's really cool. It's not easy, it's a lot of work, but you can do it. Whoops. You know what? I'm out of, I think I'm out of the butter crunch or something. This is actually my salad mix that I make, which has butter crunch, ruby, gem, and red sail. So it's like a big combination. And that's what I do for my baby mixes. I really like these varieties in my baby mixes. It comes out so beautiful. The colors are right, the taste is right, the texture is right. So we'll just do this one random. Why not? Because I like, all these varieties are fantastic, so. Yeah, everything in life is practice. You can literally learn anything, you can do anything. It just takes time and the effort. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't, or that you need to go to college to learn something. Or now with the internet, there's, you can learn anything. Like, that's why I would never recommend somebody go to school for agriculture when the best minds on this planet for agriculture, or, well, the ones that are able to put it out there, there's like 5 right now. There's 5 courses from the best market gardeners and regenerative agriculture farmers in the world. It's online right now. And you can talk to them directly. Why would you want to go talk to some stuffy loser professor that hasn't actually farmed? He's just going to tell you to inject a bunch of chemicals into the soil with a tractor and then till it in. And yeah, I'm pretty anti-establishment if you guys haven't figured that out already. Because unfortunately, the establishment promotes lies. They don't promote truth. It'd be nice if they did, but they don't. The scarier it is, the bigger reward. Oh, I like that a lot. That's great. I took my 6-year-old to Thailand. Was absolutely petrified to travel alone. But you nailed it. Of course you did. That's awesome. So cool. And now you have the confidence. That's what's so cool about doing something scary. You do it, and then forever after that, it's like, wow, yeah, I can do this. And it wasn't actually that scary. And then you can do the next bigger, scarier thing. And that's how you keep growing. If you guys have any other questions about me, about my farm, about what I'm doing, about anything, about plants, please ask it now, because I'm going to stop in about 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to stop the stream. Oops, I missed a couple. Always want to go back over. Make sure you put seed in all the holes. Okay. Looks good. Okay, so now, we need to make up some more of my topping mix. I'll show you guys that real quick. Well, I wonder if I might have enough. So this mix that I'm topping with is 50% perlite, 50% peat moss. In the summer, I like to use 50% vermiculite instead of perlite because it holds so much more moisture. And I noticed that my soil blocks stayed wet a heck of a lot longer. Yeah, I need more. So for when I make this, I don't do it super exact or anything. I just kind of go for it. add that, and I just mix it up in the bucket. What I should do is have like a tote, like a big tote like this one, where it's already pre-mixed for me. Now that I've got this greenhouse, I can kind of store more material in here, because normally I'd be scared of getting it wet. So I want to keep it dry. I think I'm going to add a little bit more perlite. So we'll top these off, and then we'll water them. I'll give you guys a couple tips on watering your soil blocks or your seedlings. Okay, that's good enough. So, if you didn't see earlier, I'm just rubbing my little 50-50 mix here over the top, and then the final step is to compress. And that's making a really nice little seed bed in there and keeping them, they want to be nice and compact and tight and warm. You know, kind of when you're all cozy in your bed at night. It's kind of like that, I think, for them. And I pull it all forward and I grab the excess and throw it back in my bucket. Because I wouldn't want to cover, I just want a very small amount just to cover the hole, and that's it. Because this is lettuce seed and it doesn't need to be covered that deeply. If you covered your lettuce seed too much, you might have bad germination rates. So the only things I would cover more deeply would be like squash or even squash, cucumber, melons, things like that, because they're bigger seed. The bigger the seed, the little bit deeper it needs to go into the ground. And actually, I might even come back on my melons and add some more of this mix on top. Done. Cool. So, let's see how many trays we got now. 1, 2, 3, 16, 18. Yeah, so we seeded 18 trays. 18 times 50, is that 900? Something like that. So 900 plants right here. You know, this took me probably twice as long as it would have if I wasn't talking and all this stuff, but it was worth it. I'm really happy everyone tuned in, and I hope everybody learned something. So now what we're going to do is water. Now for the watering, you know, we want to be delicate. We don't want to overdo it. So I just kind of control the spray. You know, you wouldn't want to, if you hit it really hard, you're going to mess up the nice seed bed that we made. So what I'll do is put it on like halfway, and then I move the sprinkler quickly over that. You know, because the soil blocks are so wet already, it's not really necessary to get it crazy wet. Also, the trays that I like to use, they don't have holes in them, and that way the water holds in there really well. Ah! Gotta make sure you have it on the right mode. And it doesn't take much. You don't want to get your transplant blocks or whatever, your plug trays, whatever. You don't want to get them like overly wet, especially if you don't have holes like I do. You could create a problem, a fungus problem. So you need to keep it moist, but not soaking wet. And the key to good germination is keeping these wet. If they dry out at any point while they're germinating, they will die. And you're going to get bad germination rates. And that's it. So, if you guys have any more questions, ask them now, because I'm going to just sit down with you for like another 5 to 10 and then head on my way. 2 more trays. Okay. These are done. Here's what some look like. This is some lettuce I did. Oops. This is some lettuce we seeded last week. Cilantro and parsley. This is some dill right here. My wife did a bunch of flowers. These are plug trays. And what we did with this, I just used some of my soil mix. Where is it? Oh, this stuff. This is a pretty good soil mix if you just want to buy it and not have to deal with making it. This is the Sungrow number something. It's called the propagation mix from Sungrow. But it's pretty good stuff. And I live at my main plot and I rent both, but I don't pay money. I just trade them vegetables. And I took a little time to find people that were willing to do that. All right. How much does that bag of seed weigh? I don't know. Oh, like a pound. I'm usually buying pounds at a time of lettuce seed right now. How do you work out a salad mix bag? I really need to make a video about that, but ultimately, like you can see here, that's that bee mix, or the lettuce mix that I just seeded, those last 2 trays that had those different varieties. That's what this is. So I put that in my earthway seeder, I seed it out, and that's how I do it. And then I would harvest it with my quick cut greens harvester. And then I have a whole system. You can see in my YouTube channel how I made my salad spinner, my greens bubbler, my drying table. I have videos about all of that. And that's, if you're going baby mixes, that's how you got to do it. The Natural Farmer. Oh yeah, that guy's awesome. I'm subscribed to him, but I haven't seen too many of his videos. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, John Keisner. Thanks for hanging out. The next stream, I don't know. Next time I feel like doing it, I guess. I should get on some sort of schedule. I will eventually. To soak the seeds. I've never soaked seed. I don't see the reason for doing that. For microgreens, it's important. I don't sell the seed starts. I don't sell the plugs. This is all from my own farm. So I plant it here and I sell the veg for people to eat. I don't know though, maybe if I have extras or something, I'd do that. Where do I keep my trays? Before I had the greenhouse. Oh, well, I just had tables. So like all these tables in here, not all of them, but most, like these tables right here, I made from a mattress, old mattress. The big table back there I got for free. I started it all on that. In the winter, I would put a frost blanket over the top of them to help with germination. So that was just straight up over in the sun. But now, the greenhouse is the next level. If you're a professional or you're doing it commercially, like I really believe that having a greenhouse is important. This whole greenhouse, like for the kit, for everything that I did, it was like $1,400-$1,500. So I'll easily be able to make that back in profit once things get going. I'm gonna do microgreens in here as well. For pests, having the healthiest plants possible. That is the real key. What means having the healthiest soil possible. Yeah, if people paid me to do super chats or paid me through super chat or donation, I'm kind of hoping that happens, because it definitely would encourage me to do this more often. I took 3 hours of my time and dropped an incredible amount of knowledge on you guys. I'm very happy to do that, and it was really fun too. Very happy everyone joined in. The best way to keep weeds out is no-till for sure. Also, here's a technique that works very well, that a lot of market gardeners use. And so right here, this is Bermuda grass. This is a grass that is spread by seed and also by rhizome. It's a nightmare. But I have a video on how I did this. If you search, I forgot what it's called, about weeds on my YouTube channel. I just ripped it all out by hand. I flame weeded it, and then I covered it with landscape fabric and put holes in, and that's worked beautifully. So if you have a really bad situation, that landscape fabric's a really great way to go. The greens harvester is awesome. It's my favorite tool. But using lettuce, how does it work for that? For me personally, I'm trying to avoid cutting any baby greens by hand. I actually don't do any of it by hand. And one of the, I don't have the crop over here. It's at my other property, but that's actually why I don't grow regular spinach. I grow tatsoi or Asian spinach, because the way it stands, I can actually cut it with my greens harvester, and I've converted most of my customers over to tatsoi, and they like it just as much or better than regular spinach. And I don't have to sit there cutting it by hand. You can get like $12 a pound for real spinach though. All my other baby greens, I can easily get $10 a pound direct to customer. I have not dabbled in hydroponics. I have built, like 6 years ago, I built a aquaponics system, and that's something I'm still really interested in. But the problem with aquaponics and hydroponics is the infrastructure cost. It's so much to get going. Whereas something like this, you can start a business like this for 10 grand or less, 5 grand to get started. So for me, when I set out to do this property, I knew that I was going to do a YouTube channel to try to get more people to learn how to farm and to how to, this is the perfect entry point for agriculture. It's the perfect way to start, to see if you really enjoy it enough to do it on a larger scale and feed a lot more people. What else is there to say? It's been a long stream. Anyways, well, thank you guys so much for watching. I think I'm gonna head on and go eat some dinner and stuff. Really appreciate everybody. Thank you, Esme, for the super chat donation. I really appreciate it. If you found my the new Super Bowl stream, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna try to do a couple streams a month, and I'll try to schedule it out. So please subscribe. If you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified when I do my next live stream, and I'll put like a little the reminder thingy so that you guys are notified. You can PayPal me. Yeah, I've got the link down below. PayPal.me/nature'salwaysright. Really, really appreciate it. And like I said, everything goes back into my into the videos. I actually just spent $150 on I got a brand new mic for my phone. I got what did I get? I'm going to Texas to do for the Bootstrap Farmer kind of mastermind conference with a bunch of other cool farmers. I'm doing 3 different farm tours. I'm gonna do 6 sit-down interviews. So I'm gonna be putting a lot of cool stuff from all these different farmers from around the country for you guys. And so yeah, I got new mics. I got like an expandable memory, a battery. So yeah, I'm trying to upgrade my stuff here to make it better for everybody. So thank you for the donations. That's what I do, money. And if you're interested in donating or becoming a patron, the link is down below. Thanks again so much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being a fellow gardener and farmer, and trying to make the best food and health possible for your families and your neighbors and your customers. Yeah, proud of you guys. Keep up the good work. We are making headway. Keep spreading the truth about all this stuff, and we will be victorious. All right, thanks guys, and I'll see